Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
Now we begin the English language transmission from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
We now present a mixed chorus. Song of General Kim Il-sung. Beautiful maid chorus, sung of Janitor Kim Jong-il.
This is DPRK, Voice of Korea News Now. Revolutionary activities of respected Kim Jong-un were reported abroad between July 26th and 28th. The Chinese News Network, Xinhua Network, Global Network, Guangming Network, China Network, Hong Kong Takung Pao, and Hong Kong Phoenix Satellite Television, and Japanese Jodo News reported the news of his field guidance to the Wonsan shoemaking factory. The Chinese News Network reports the news that respected Marshal Kim Jong-un watched the men's volleyball game between April 2015 and the Amnok-gang team, which was held on the occasion of the Victory Day. And the Mirror News Agency the news of his field guidance to the Kosan Fruit Farm.
Foreign newspapers recently featured the 61st anniversary of the victory of the Korean people in the Great Fatherland Liberation War. The Russian newspapers, Pravda Primoria and Narodninsky Ravoche, the Malaysian newspaper Guangming Daily News, and the Bangladeshi newspapers Daily Folk and Police said the United States, provoking the war on June the 25th, 1950, had the foolish idea that it would conclude DPRK easily, relying on the numerical and technical superiority, but had to sign an armistice agreement as good as an instrument of surrender on July the 27th, 1953. If the United States, oblivious of the lesson, triggers off another Korean war, it will face a complete ruin, not a mere defeat, the newspapers added. The Malaysian newspaper prints the photo of the Korean leader, President Kim Il-sung.
Delegates of the Uzbekistan DPRK Friendship Forum visited the DPRK embassy in their country on July the 27th to congratulate the 61st anniversary of the Korean people's victory in the Great Fatherland Liberation War. They laid bouquets before the full-length picture of the great Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il being together and expressed high respects to them. They praised His Excellency Kim Il-sung as an outstanding military strategist and great leader of the Korean people, who defended the sovereignty and independence of Korea from the invasion of the US-led imperialist allied forces. They said Korea, which had got strong military power under the guidance of His Excellency Great Kim Jong-il, is now further strengthened and developed by His Excellency respected Kim Jong-un. They wish the Korean army and people great success in the building of a prosperous socialist nation. On the other hand, the co-chairman of the Council of the Kim Il-sung Kim Jong-il Foundation and the Secretary General of the Hong Kong Zhonghua Energy Fund Commission, the chairperson of the Emperor Group, and the General Director of the Golden Trip Travel Service Company Limited of China sent floral baskets to the DPRK mission in Hong Kong of China on July the 26th.
Home visiting groups of students of Korea University under the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan, respectively led by Head of Departments Lee Young-seng and Kim Yong-dae, laid bouquets before the bronze statues of the Korean leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il on Mansu Hill and paid homage to them on Friday.
A national meeting was held at the April 25th House of Culture in Pyongyang on Friday on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the policy of modeling the entire party on Kim Il-sungism presented by the great leader Kim Jong-il. Present there were officials of the party, armed forces and government organs, public organizations, ministries and national agencies, service persons of the Korean People's Army and the Korean People's Internal Security Forces, and officials and labor innovators of institutions and industrial establishments in Pyongyang. The rostrum was taken by Kim Yong-nam and other senior officials of the party and state, officials of the party and armed forces organs, ministries and national agencies, and political officials of the army and civilian party officials and working people who distinguished themselves in the strengthening and development of the party. The report was made by Kim Gi-nam, member of the Political Bureau and Secretary of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. The reporter said the great Kim Jong-il, in his historic conclusion, made that the national training course for the party's organizational workers, or the Fourth Conference of Organizational Workers of the Workers' Party of Korea on August 2nd, 1963 or 1974, set forth the original policy on modeling the entire party on Kim Il-sungism, and thus provided an epochal milestone of the party building. He went on to say, the Workers' Party of Korea could advance the revolution and construction along the straight road of victory, demonstrating its might as a revolutionary party of Juche type century after century, despite all sorts of world political upheavals. It is a precious fruition of the outstanding leadership of the great Kim Jong-il, who brilliantly carried forward and developed the great leader-president Kim Il-sung's party-building idea and exploit. The present year is a worthwhile year to firmly defend the undying achievements performed by the great Kim Jong-il in party building and apply them to party work and activities in an all-round way, and thus brilliantly accomplish the cause of imbuing the entire party and the whole society with Kim Il-sungism, Kim Jong-ilism. The reporter called on to single-mindedly unite around the party central committee headed by the great Kim Jong-un and vigorously struggle for the strengthening and development of the party and the accomplishment of the revolutionary cause of Juche under the banner of Sungun policy.
Leading party officials from across the DPRK visited Kim Jong-il's birthplace in the Pakistan Sacred Camp on August 1st as part of a study tour of revolutionary battle sites in the area of Mount Baekdu. They laid bouquets before the mosaic mural of the Korean leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il and the anti-Japanese heroine Kim Jong-suk and paid respect to them. They heard an explanation before the monument to the paean written by President Kim Il-sung on the occasion of birthday of Kim Jong-il and looked around the Pakistan Sacred Camp. They also visited the Tungbong and Gunchang bivouacs and the Sajabong Secret Camp used by the members of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army during their advance into the homeland in company with Kim Il-sung. They laid bouquets before the bronze statue of President Kim Il-sung at the Tungbong bivouac. That day, they set up tents around the Gunchang bivouac and, bivouacking there, held a meeting to present their impressions and the reminiscences of the anti-Japanese guerrillas. Around the campfire, they held a recreation party and exchanged experiences in party work.
DPRK government delegation led by Foreign Minister Lee Soo-young left Pyongyang by air on Saturday to visit Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, Indonesia and Singapore. Children from different countries are now spending pleasant days at the Songdo-won International Children's Camp. The camp is different in nationality, color and language, learn swimming at bathing resort, use nose-dive water slide and others in the outdoor wading pool, and venture rock climbing in the gymnasium. At the International Friendship Children's Hall of the camp, they are playing video games such as shooting and racing and watching films of different themes at the 4D simulation cinema, finding themselves in a fantastic world. They are also visiting the outdoor archery field, greenhouse, aquarium, and so on. A football match took place on July the 30th between the campus, divided into friendship and solidarity teams. It served as an important occasion in promoting their friendship and solidarity.
The chairman of the Latin American Institute of the Church Idea, the chairman of the Finnish National Committee for the Study of the Church Idea, the chairman of the Russian Association for the Promotion of Study and Dissemination of Works of Kim Jong-il, the Secretary General of the African Regional Committee for the Study of the Church Idea, and other foreign visitors to the Medium Riding Club expressed admiration. They said, in the world, riding is known as a sports activity for the rich. But in Korea, ordinary people learn and enjoy riding. The Medium Riding Club is a part of the wise leadership of respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, who attaches greatest importance to the promotion of people's welfare and spares nothing for it. It is a great creation produced by the brilliant application of the church idea, the revolutionary idea of the great President Kim Il-sung and leader Kim Jong-il, they added.
According to the South Korean internet newspaper Voice of People, South Korean legal scholars held a press conference in Seoul on July the 28th and denounced the Saenuri Party for hindering the institution of a special law while taking issue with the formation of an investigation committee for probing into the truth behind the ferry sewer sinking. The newspaper also carried an editorial on July the 30th in denunciation of the economic policy of the authorities.
The Solidarity for Progress of South Korea released a statement on July the 29th and strongly condemned the prosecution for demanding 20 years penal servitude and the length for Lee So-ki and others concerned who had been detained on suspicion of attempted rebellion. And that's the end of the news read by Cha Sung-nam and Lee Sang-sun. This is Voice of Korea.
The daily Rodong Sinmun carried a commentary on Saturday under the title, "Do Not Play with Fire" on the Powder magazine. The commentary said, some time ago, the South Korean military gangsters stressed that the Ulchi Freedom Guardian joint military exercise with the United States would be conducted as planned. The joint military exercise is an advanced exercise for an aggressive war and nuclear test war aimed at mounting a sudden preemptive nuclear attack on the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. A clear proof of it is the fact that the South Korean war hawks attempt to apply a tailored deterrence strategy to the projected exercise for the first time in history. The tailored deterrence strategy is a very dangerous war scenario to divide somebody's nuclear crisis into the stages of threat, imminent use, and mount a preemptive attack on us with the mobilization of all military means, including nukes. When inter-Korean relations are extremely deteriorated and the tension of the Korean Peninsula gets more escalated than ever before, the United States and the South Korean war hawks plan to doggedly conduct the Ulchi Freedom Guardian joint military exercise. It is literally as good as playing with fire on the Powder magazine. We have already declared solemnly that all the strongholds of aggression and provocations, including the White House, the Department of Defense, and the Blue House, would be targets of the powerful cutting-edge arms-of-precision fire-striking means of our Revolutionary Army of Mountbatten. The United States and the South Korean puppets must not act rashly, remembering our ultimatum. That was the commentary under the title, "Do Not Play with Fire" on the Powder magazine, carried in the daily Rodong Sinmun on Saturday. This is Voice of Korea.
You enjoy your meal, Paris? footsteps. To band the music, long live the Workers' Party of Korea. we now present the song Varieties of Future. The country of a single-minded unity of the leader, party and people runs towards the wood with pride and dignity. Nobody will check our road to socialism. Bright is the future under the brilliant sun of guidance. Please enjoy the orchestral music, The Road of Victory. powers forward towards a final victory. Please appreciate the marching music at the goal.
bellflower. Kungang bellflower is a perennial plant belonging to Campanulaceae. It is an indigenous plant which was discovered in Mount Kungang, a celebrated mountain of Korea, in 1909. It grows in the shade of deep mountains and stands cold well. It is found in the area of Mount Kungang and in different places of Gangwon Province and South Gangwon Province of Korea. The hollow stem is 15 to 70 centimeters high. Leaves come forth in alternation. Some leaves are dense in the upper part of the stem. The leaf is elliptic and its end is long and sharp, and verge is laciniate. Around July and August, one or some beautiful lantern-shaped flowers hang at the end of the stem. The green-violet flower is 2.5 to 3.5 centimeters long and 1.2 to 1.8 centimeters across. The corolla is divided into 5 in the end. The flower has 5 stamina. Fruit is seed-ball and ripens in autumn. The plant is propagated by seed or by root division. Kungang bellflower is a precious plant which is not only of ornamental value for its big and beautiful flowers, but also of scientific significance in clarifying the evolution of the Korean flora. In Korea, the Kungang bellflower stocks in the Manpo province and the valley of DPRK in Inner Kungang and the Manmusang area in Outer Kungang of Mount Kungang have been designated as living monuments and are under state protection. Kungang bellflower. Kungang bellflower is a perennial plant belonging to Campanulaceae. It is an indigenous plant which was discovered in Mount Kungang, a celebrated mountain of Korea, in 1909. It grows in the shade of deep mountains and stands cold well. It is found in the area of Mount Kungang and in different places of Gangwon Province and South Gangwon Province of Korea. The hollow stem is 15 to 70 centimeters high. Leaves come forth in alternation. Some leaves are dense in the upper part of the stem. The leaf is elliptic and its end is long and sharp, and verge is laciniate. Around July and August, one or some beautiful lantern-shaped flowers hang at the end of the stem. The green-violet flower is 2.5 to 3.5 centimeters long and 1.2 to 1.8 centimeters across. The corolla is divided into 5 in the end. The flower has 5 stamina. Fruit is seed-ball and ripens in autumn. The plant is propagated by seed or by root division. Kungang bellflower is a precious plant which is not only of ornamental value for its big and beautiful flowers, but also of scientific significance in clarifying the evolution of the Korean flora. In Korea, the Kungang bellflower stocks in the Manpo province and the valley of DPRK in Inner Kungang and the Manmusang area in Outer Kungang of Mount Kungang have been designated as living monuments and are under state protection. So far about Kungang bellflower. This is Voice of Korea.
You'll enjoy your female soul in mixed Bangkok, beautiful and nice to live in.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC on 13,650 kHz and 15,105 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz and 13,650 kHz. For Middle East and Northern Africa between 16 and 17 hours UTC on 9,890 kHz and 11,645 kHz, and between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 9,875 kHz and 11,635 kHz. For Southern Africa between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 7,210 kHz and 11,910 kHz. And for Central and South Americas between 4 and 5 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz, 13,760 kHz, and 15,180 kHz. And between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,710 kHz and 15,180 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.